Flash games were some of the most beloved pastimes for children and adults alike back in the day. They were usually quick and replayable games that were easy to run right in your browser. Me personally, I love to play these back on the desktop computers we had back in elementary school. Hopefully I'm not that much of an old head. However, Flash is kinda not a thing anymore unfortunately, since it got shut down a few years ago. But a few games got ported and remain to this day. One of those is a classic game by the name of Run. I'm sure a lot of you already know what the game is, but if you don't, it's pretty simple. You play as a little alien guy who has to run forward through a level in a tunnel in the middle of space. If you're saying, wow, that's pretty simple, well, you're right. That's the point. It's a simple game that you could play to help cope with the fact that you just failed your minute multiplication quiz in the last period. But today I want to ask the question, do they hold up with my 20-year-old self? Now before I get into the first game, I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. It helps keep this channel running. Get it? Like, Run? Let's start with, well, where it started. Run, or Run 1, is the first of the series, and is by far the simplest. There isn't anything flashy to this one, it's almost exactly how I described the game prior. There's 50 levels that change colors and increase in difficulty as you go through them. You jump and climb on walls to get from one level to another. It's very simple, but the mechanics and gameplay feel good. The game took me a little over 20 minutes to complete when I played it now, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone who wasn't as familiar with the game took about 40 minutes to complete it. Once you beat the levels, there isn't much to unlock except 2 higher speeds for a bigger challenge on the same levels. This game I would say still holds up today and is very good. You might ask why, because of its simplicity and short runtime. Well, that's why it holds up. It has everything you need for a short and fun browser game without any of the unnecessary fluff. I didn't have much to say about Run 1, but I have a lot more to say about Run 2. This is the big sequel to Run 1 that brings some new stuff to the table. In order to still play this game, I couldn't use Cool Math Games, since this game hasn't been ported to HTML yet. However, I did find a sketchy website to play this on instead. This game makes a few big changes to the formula that Run 1 set up. The first one you'll notice is that you now have the choice of 2 characters. The first is the traditional character from last game, but the new one is the skater. They can jump farther, but at the cost of less control of your character. Instead of the game being in the style of a continuous journey through an endless tunnel, you now play on distinct separate levels. The level design for these are also different, where it's more of a parkour style of gameplay rather than hanging on to the main tunnel. The other main addition to this game is the bonuses and levels. In each level, there's a yellow dot that you can pick up by usually finishing the level through a harder route. These bonuses are used to unlock later levels as you progress through the game. That's about it for major gameplay additions and shakeups though. I don't know about the general consensus for these games, but from people I knew back in the day, I remember people preferring Run 2 to Run 1. Well, me personally, I'm gonna have to say, this game sucks hard. All of the things they do to reinvent the wheel turns the whole wheel into a square. The one alright thing is the characters, because it doesn't really change the game too much and adds a little variety. The new level design is worse than the first in my opinion. The tunnel structure worked because it had a clear beginning and end to the levels, and paths you're supposed to go down. A free-flowing parkour-like structure gives you more freedom in theory, but it ends up still leading you down a selected path or two most times, with just more confusing level design. I could stand this if it wasn't for the bonuses. They genuinely kill the game for me. The name bonus should imply that they are an extra little objective to go for, but they're the essential thing you need to go for in this game. I treated them like a bonus objective and was confused when the game ended at level 9. I think one of the main appeals of the prior game was how straightforward it was, while this game is just the complete opposite of that. This game isn't too bad on its own without context, however, this game is the perfect example of how to not do a sequel. In an attempt to justify its own existence as a sequel, it changes too much of what made the original so great. Now we move on to the final entry in the Run series, Run 3. Unlike 1 and 2 that I grew up with, I never played Run 3 as a kid, so minus some small exposure here or there, I haven't played this game. Before I get into the things it changed, I have to say that this game is what Run 2 should have been. The things that it changes build off the foundation of the first game rather than trying to change what it is. This game almost completely ignores Run 2 as well, which is hilarious. The one thing that it does bring from Run 2 is the character system. But instead of 2 characters, there's 10. However, you actually get these from game progression and in-game achievements. They all have their own benefits and downsides. There are also new gameplay elements that add on to the original concept. There are new tiles like falling tiles and ice tiles that add some variance to the gameplay. On top of this, the tunnels aren't rectangular like before. They're more cylindrical, which makes the game slightly harder in my opinion. The tunnel is also longer than the original, with there being 65 levels as opposed to the original's 50. Not to mention there are 8 different side tunnels, each with their own gimmick and difficulties. In total, there's 309 levels to play in this game. There's also a story with actual cutscenes. It's not very good, but it was funny. There's also an infinite mode that I didn't get around to playing, a shop to buy upgrades and characters, and even a level editor. This game is just jam-packed full of content. I'm sure you can tell how I feel about this game from my words before, but I think this game is pretty good. All of the extra content adds to the experience and makes it feel fresh. This is the most quote-unquote full game-like entry in the series. You could legitimately spend more than 5 hours completing the content in this game, all in your browser. The game is also more difficult than the first, but it's not frustrating or annoying like Run 2. There's only one thing that comes with this that I consider a negative. This game really isn't a browser game anymore. It has so much content that you can't really play the game from start to finish in one sitting like most Flash games. That's clearly not what the game is aiming for, but it's something I appreciate from games like this. Okay, so we went through all the Run games and broke them down a little bit, but now the ultimate question remains. Which of these entries is the best? Well, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way first. Run 2 is the worst by far, as you could tell from my criticisms of it. Is it the worst game in the world? No, but it is the weakest game in the franchise. I would recommend you play 1 and 3 before this. Now it comes down to the final two, 1 and 3. This choice really depends on what you come into the game looking for, because both are great. For Run 1, it's mainly the game you come to for a quick experience that you can replay a lot and speedrun. For Run 3, it's the game you come to if you want to play it multiple times and progress through stuff. It's replayable because of the amount of content you can do. This is tough for me to choose since it really is close, but ultimately I gotta go with the OG. I personally value the short and concise experience a little more. However, if you're a new or returning player of these games, I would recommend you play Run 1 and then go try Run 3. For most people, the content of Run 3 will keep you occupied for a long time if you like the first. The Run series is near and dear to my heart due to it being a part of my childhood, but I think it's safe to say that this game is still fun in 2023 and probably will be for years to come. The primal desire to run and jump forward can't be beat. Just like the urge to like and subscribe. I would appreciate it a ton. Let me know if you want me to do more browser game stuff like this in the comments or in my Discord link below. Thanks for watching. I'm Chaos for real, and I'm gonna run away now.